Hello and welcome to Premiere 7. I am your host, Ryan Nelson, coming to you today with a top class video as it relates to Newcastle United versus Brighton. This will be a live match review. Today's game was absolutely fantastic as the Magpies went out, they marched out, and they create a big upset on their opponents, defeating Brighton by 4 goals to 1. And it was a shocking blow, but I tell you what, that is just the beauty of the Premier League's game. And of course, I just want to say a big thank you to all those persons who are tuning in at this point to see what is taking place here on Premier 7. Because on Premier 7, I provide the possible news, information, and updates on the top 7 teams in the Premier League. So, as you can see here, I am wearing my Canadian sweater. Not to say that I am from Canada, but one of my cousins with this sweater, and I decided to wear it for this wonderful live review. So, of course, I just want to dive into the details right away. I'm going to show you some key information as it relates to the game that was being played today. And I'm going to share the information with you today with the results coming from One Football, one of the best platforms to check up on news as it relates to the English Premier League, but not only the English Premier League, it is worldwide, so you can check out information as it relates to the Champions League, La Liga, and you name it. Once you're a football fan, you will know exactly what I'm speaking about. All right. And of course, I do hope that you all are having a wonderful night. For me, it is a blessed night. I have complete silence. I don't have any noise around me to distract me. And of course, that is the life of persons who are doing live stream videos. So I'm going to share the results as you can see here on the screen. So it was a case in which the game was played at Newcastle's home, and they blew away Brighton, as I've said earlier on, by 4 goals to 1. I was shocked to see such huge results. I was saying that this game could have ended like 2 goals to 1 based on the predictions before the game. But when I was watching the game, I saw whereas from minute one, Newcastle United was pressing out the life out of Brighton. And I think Newcastle was more hungry for this victory because they want to secure a spot in the Champions League. And I'm going to go into such details later on in the video. I just want to give you some basic information about what took place today. All right, so it was 4 goals to 1. And I just want to go through the lineups here. So this is just a general talk portion of the segment. The match result, as we know already, is 4 goals to 1 in favor of Newcastle at their home. And it is time to see what the lineup was from the game begun, right? So Newcastle, they went out with a wonderful formation, more so a 4-3-3 formation. It was basically the same team, you could say. The backline remains the same with Keeper Pope in goal, Trippier playing at right back, Fabian Scheer and Botman, who have a great chemistry. They closed the back two, and Burns was the person who was locking the left back. As it relates to the midfield section, the engines were there. Willock, Bruno Guimaraes, one of the best CDM in the Premier League, and Joe Linton. These three players are on good form. And of course, for the front line, I just want to say a big shout out to Miguel Almiron, Wilson, and Isak. Now, on the Brighton side, we have Steele, who was basically the keeper of today's game. The back four was Caicedo, Van Hecke, Dunk, who was the captain, Estopian. So, two Ecuadorian players, they have been playing on the right back portion and the left back portion for the team. And it wasn't really a bad lineup, really, for Brighton Albion. Of course, to complete the team in totality, Groves was playing alongside Gilmore in the midfield. I was surprised McAllister did not start, but it could be a case for which, Brighton team was playing a lot of games and they wanted to reserve some of their players. Not to say that they did not want to start McAllister, but it could be a case as well for which he wasn't fit to start. And Mitoma, Undav, and Bernati, those players aren't bad players to play for Brighton, of course. And Welbeck is the person who was leading the front line, one of the best player as it relates to this team. He's one of those players who can score against top teams, and Manchester United fans can recite such news. So basically, the formation for Brighton was a case of a 4-2-3-1, right? Also like a position-based formation, right? So details was being shared as it relates to the lineups for both teams, and of course for Newcastle, the form is good for these players, and the results showed because upon watching the game, it wasn't a bad look for the Newcastle fans, and players were on form. Let's speak about how the goal was being scored as well. It was an own goal that was being scored by Undev in the 22nd minute. That was from a corner courtesy of Kieran Trippier. It was a very decent corner. If you aren't a defender, then if you flicked it off, it will end up in the back of the net, and that was the case. So going through the match details, not all the goals as well. There were some few yellow cards issued out. Bruno Guimaraes received one, Undev received one as well. Fabian Scheer is a person who I don't want to say he's aggressive in all cases, but he's one of those players who take his game very serious. So he received a yellow card as well. Gimmer is in the 30th minute, Ondev 47th minute, Fabian Scheer 48th minute. And the goal followed after the own goal was by Daniel Burns. Daniel Burns is a left back for Newcastle United, and he scored in the 49th minute. It was a beautiful goal. And Ondev, despite of his mistakes within the first half, of course, the own goal and the yellow card, he picked up in the second half, scoring um, a good goal in the 51st minute. By way of that, as you can see here, there was some case of substitution that took place within the game because if your team isn't playing up to expectation, then you have to bring on the players for which can do a better job. And of course, McAllister came on, the Argentinian came on for Bill Gilmore to fit himself in that midfield, and it was a surprise when Daniel Welbeck came off. Evan Ferguson came on. He actually is a youngster who has a contract covered and set that he will be staying at his club, that is Brighton, for a while. And Bonate, he came off, and Julia Enciso. Enciso is a quite decent player. He came on. So three substitutions took place very early within the 56th minute for Brighton, just to get some more pace in the game as well, and to prevent Newcastle from pressing the life out of them. Along the way, some more cards was being distributed to Pascal Groves. Um, Changes was made as well for Newcastle in the 61st minute. Elliot Anderson came on for Willock. Along the way, McAllister, the yellow card, and you name it. As you can see on the screen, some more substitution took place, and of course, some more cards was being distributed. But the beauty of the game was a case of which Callum Wilson, he showed that it doesn't matter what the age is. Once you are on a decent form, then you can create chances and even score goals to put your team in that position of having that opportunity to finish in top competition. And I'm going to speak about Champions League later on in the video. He scored and he managed, of course, to make an assist for his teammate as well in the final portion of the game by making an assist to Bruno Guimaraes. It was a beautiful game, as I've said before, and for Newcastle fan, it is just a few more points to gain. If they receive three more points, then they will be in the Champions League. But as for Brighton, they have to win a few more games to even get a chance to finish in Europe's major competition. All right, so while I'm here with you on this live stream, I just want to say a big shout out to the supporting fans. I have 170 subscribers currently, and it is not an easy road when persons are doing live stream or even making videos on YouTube. But because you're the supporting fans, I have to give a big shout out to you all for supporting Premier 7. Continue to subscribe, continue to watch, continue to like, and share the videos to your friends and family members or those persons that you know who are a huge fan of football, because definitely on Premier 7, a lot more news will be provided to the wide audience. So I just want to jump into another quick segment. I just want to give some details as it relates to the player ratings. And we all know what player ratings mean. And then I look into the point standing to see where these teams fit. We know what the results was in regards to the game. So let's go into some details as to the players who stood out in the game. So of course, as you can see here, let's speak about Newcastle first because they were the winners of the game. Um, Newcastle United, the man of the match was Wilson. As you can see, that his rating was 8.8 because of how he played throughout the game. Not only because he made an assist to Bruno Guimaraes in the last portion of the game, and because he scored a goal, his overall leadership as a striker, or I should also mention how he led the line, it shows that he had the potential to even score more than 18 goals because that is what he's currently on this season. And I think Callum Wilson is a top class player for Newcastle this season. Other players like Isak, who is, I think he was bought to be a striker for Newcastle. Callum Wilson made that particular spot his own. Apart from Callum Wilson, as you can see here, Bruno Guimaraes, he was also rated very closely. I think he's the second best rated player for the team here today. 8.7 rating, despite the yellow card. He constructed and, controlled the fluency of the game in terms of the back line and the front line, because, the midfield players are important, especially the person who's playing in the central defensive midfield. Bruno Guimaraes is a top player. I know for sure that he's ranked in the Premier League in the top as best central defensive midfielder. He's having a wonderful season, and he went through a few injuries, but he's back on track, and he deserved to go into the Champions League as well. I also want to give some credit to Miguel Almiron. He came back to Newcastle. Remember, he was injured for a while, but his form did not change. He continues to make the right wing his own. Whenever he comes back, you know that he will be his main self. He will be his true self as well. Running at defenders, making passes, running to spaces, things like those is what Miguel Almiron is capable of doing. And nothing against the players who were playing in such position before, but I mean, once Almiron is back, he will be the person to take control of that position. And before I jump to Brighton, despite of their poor performances today, I just want to point out two more players who played phenomenally well for Newcastle United. Kieran Trippier, he's a captain because Lascelles is injured. So Kieran Trippier, the standing captain, he played quite well for his team. He led from the front despite he's the right back for the team. Kieran Trippier to me is one of the best right back in the Premier League this season. He can cross the ball fantastically well. Remember the own goal that was scored by Ondev? It was courtesy of the corner that was done by Kieran Trippier. Of course, he understands the game. He knows how to go forward. He knows how to run back. He knows how to position himself when he's attacking and defending his goals. So basically, he is that player who, despite the age that he's currently at, age doesn't matter really. It's all about how you play and how you fit the coach in regards to style of play. Once you can follow the coach's instruction and he select you to play, then definitely you can go out there and represent yourself and the team. And from that is happening, you will not be substituted. Now for Matt Burns, he is Daniel Burns, I should say. I'm giving him a new name there. For Daniel Burns, one of the thing about Daniel Burns is that it looks weird for him to be a left back because of his height. Normally he would look like a midfield player because of his height. He will remind me slightly of the Longstaff brother, a taller one. He's a left back, and to tell you what, he's very strong. He is good on the ball. He knows how to position himself, and a lot of players are tall but not good in the air. For instance, like Horse, but not want to show any shades with Manchester United players, but Newcastle United Burns, he's showing both Veghorst the usefulness of having the height in the game, because once you're tall, strong, and robust, you should have that capability of scoring goals with the head. And that is what he done within the game today. He was absolutely amazing, and he was very close to get the man of the match, but you had players like Guimaraes, Almoran, or even Wilson as well, who were playing better than him. So it was an overall good play by Newcastle United, and of course, I want to say thumbs up to them. Now, for Brighton, sad to say that Brighton did not deliver. I mean, they a team for which De Zerbi took in charge of, and they were playing some good football. It's like a one-off because you can be winning a lot of games, and then at the end of the day, you can lose a game, and you wonder how different opposition, different condition, different mindset, right? Even though you may go into the game to say, I'm going to win the game, you cannot just tell yourself that you have to display that because you know how football is. I can give you a scenario. I played some football yesterday. My team lost 1-0, and I wasn't playing well. I was playing at the back line as a defender. Sometimes I played in the midfield. My passes was off. My I didn't even got a chance to shoot at the goal. I had to remain at the back line. But my reading of the game was bad. I had the game in my mind from within the morning, and it did not went well. So that was in the case of Brighton as well, because it's a team for which the players are good players, but sometimes it doesn't go in your favor. The player that was playing the best for Brighton was Gilmore. He was a better player, but he was substituted for McAllister. And McAllister is a player for which, not because he won the World Cup, he's a very good player in the midfield alongside Moise Caicedo. But I don't understand why he's deployed to the right back of the pitch. Definitely could be a case in which the main person is not available. But once McAllister and Caicedo is playing in the midfield, it brings a better balance for the team. But he was sacrificed yet again because the game that he played against Manchester United, that is Moise Caicedo, he played well against Marcus Rashford, but I was just pointing out something out there that I think he needs to play more in the midfield because that is his best position. He can be changed into a different position on the pitch, but let's say keep the best players in their rightful position. Back to Gilmore. So he was the best player on the pitch. He was the person was more so composed, despite the fact that they were somewhat all over the place. He was the person who was trying to break up the plays and make constructive passes. But he was substituted and McAllister was brought on. Apart from that, there were other players who were playing a bit okay as well. Players such as Welbeck. But before I speak about Welbeck, let me speak about Estopian. Estopian is a player for which I rate. I don't remember the game that he scored in the previous game before the loss today. He is a left back for which I think that he is at the right club. Just needs some more time and he will become better. He is a very good left back, and everybody have their bad days and their good days. I think he's more so consistent this season for Brighton, and he will be a player that will deliver. Sixth in the Premier League so far. If he wasn't playing good, he would not be playing game in game out for the club. And along the way, his rating is 6.4. That shows that it was average basically. Now moving from him to the goalkeeper, Steele made a few mistakes, but mistakes that did not cost him really. He made some good saves as well. Newcastle is a team that likes to shoot from a distance and likes to, attack. Once they have the ball in their position, they're going to attack you, and more so, more than five players on the pitch can score goals. Wilson can score goals. Almiron, Willock, Guimaraes, Joe Linton, even Isak. Let me give you six. That was Isak who made the sixth place there. So he made a few good saves. If he wasn't in the goal, then basically more goals would be conceded. So he's not playing bad. He was average as well, but let me say along the way he will get better. Now to Mitoma. Mitoma is one of the best players for Brighton. Very nimble footed, very good with the ball at his feet, very good ball control. I think he was outplayed today. Not his best game, but he managed to play as best as he could. He made a few runs at the back line, but Newcastle United, they have one of the best defensive records in the Premier League this season. So it is hard to pass Trippier, Fabian Schär, Botman, and Burns. When those four players are secure in the back line, it is going to be difficult. And if you beat those four, then Nick Pope is another person to beat. So it wasn't really his best game. He took a few chances, but they weren't really what he wanted to do for the club. But I mean, he will develop over the years. I mean, he was at Brighton. I don't think he'll be going to a different club. Possibly if they continue to win the other games that remains. I think they have three more games, but not to worry. I'm going to speak about that portion. If they continue to win, then they will have a chance to finish in Europe's competition. Now, apart from Matoma, Welbeck, he defends. He defends his team. Despite he's a striker, he will not give up. He will run back. He will track back. He will try his best to score goals and to link up plays. And a player like Welbeck in your team, he's not the top class striker like, for instance, Erling Haaland. Such a bad comparison, really. But he's a player that can give you something like what Ivan Toney would give you. Good passes, um, breaking up plays, tracking back, as I've said before, things like those is what he offers to the team. For him as a striker, he did not score, but that doesn't say that he have to score to show that he has the potential or have the ability to contribute to his team. So by way of that, it wasn't a game of victory on an overall scale for Brighton. So I don't want to judge them too much, but it is the nitty gritty part of the Premier League. So they have to pick up the pace and try their best to, you know, finish strong and see if they can have a chance to finish in Europe's major competition. So apart from the small analysis and the player ratings about the players from the respective teams, it was a good game, and of course, certainly they will not meet again this season, but hopefully next season things can be different. All right, so I'm going to speak about the points table. I think if you are really paying attention, you will see the points table. So let me just give you some details really about the points table. So we're not going to speak about Man City, nor Arsenal, nor United, nor Liverpool. We're going to speak about just the two teams that is up for discussion today. So Newcastle United, two more games to go, 36 games covered, 69 points. So if they win the other game, that will be 71, well, 72 points. Champions League is secured. So, I mean, that is it for Newcastle. They're in the Champions League. So they just need to win that one out of the other two games and they're on their way. So Champions League will be theirs if they continue on the good form. Brighton is currently in sixth place, 35 games, 58 points. But they have a game or so less than a Spurs and Aston Villa. So they still have a chance to finish in Europe's competition. I don't want to write off Brighton, but if they continue to lose games, then you know how it goes. They will fall outside of the top six, and they don't want to be playing in a different competition. Most teams would like to play in Champions League. If not Champions League, then in the Europa League, because once you play in those major competitions, apart from the English-based competitions, you have a better chance to gain some more exposures on the big stage and play against competitive teams. All right, so what's next for both teams? All right, that is the final segment of the video today, the live session. And of course, I just want to say that before, we all know that the game ended by 4 goals to 1, and that was in favor of, Newcastle United. So, of course, what is next for both teams? Newcastle United, if they win at least one game out of two, then they'll be in the Champions League. That will be 72 points. For Brighton, if they win two more games out of three, then it will be a case of them securing Europa League. So it won't be a bad idea to see these two teams in major competitions because I have long to see even clips of Newcastle in major competitions. It's not a case in which Newcastle did not make it to the Champions League before. They did. They did so back in the days, but it is a new time around, and it would look good for Newcastle to be in the Champions League. So, as I've said before, they need to just win 1 out of 2 games, and 72 points will be in the bag. Eddie Howe will be proud. The Newcastle owners will be proud. The players, of course, will be proud, and not to mention the fans. Now, Brighton, they just need to keep themselves injury free. Um, Try their best to cover up their best players and get Caicedo playing back into the midfield. Get him playing back in that main position that he is more accustomed to, because once he's developed there in playing his best fit position, then it will be quite phenomenal for him. So I just want to say it is now the end of the video, and it was my pleasure in going through this quick review. A big shout out to all those persons who are supporting the channel and those who are watching the video right now. It was my pleasure, and I'll be back here within a few more days. So peace be out to you, and as I've said before, 1 cent to subscriptions. Continue to watch, like, comment, and share to Premier 7 for some more awesome news and details. Um, I'm out now, and bye bye.